Everybody listen to We're Not Wizards, because we are the best, and we're not wizards, no matter what anybody says. Goodbye.
Welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for February. Isn't it fantastic? Do you like that little buzz on February? Because February's all about a little bit of a buzz. I could tell you why there's a little bit of a buzz going about it, but I'm not. I'm going to keep my secrets. If you want me to divulge why I am so happy about February, you're going to need to get somebody in to question me. That person's going to have skills at questioning me. You could say that person's almost going to have a little bit of an inquisitive nature. You could say that person could almost be a little bit of the Inquisition. You could say that person could almost be like a bit of a Board Game Inquisition. So joining me from Board Game Inquisition, I've got Antoinette Mason.
Mm-hmm. Hello. Thanks for having me. That was a wonderful intro.
It's off the cuff. I've got 7 or 8 written.
Oh.
And no, I don't. That's just lies. I do actually have, my big secret is I like diluting juice, and what I do is I like an awful lot of the kind of juice, the cheap stuff that has got unbeknown amount of chemicals in them. And I like to drink them, and then I just see what funny shapes fly into my head as I try to work out some kind of introduction. But anyway, that's besides the point. How are you doing? How are you doing? Are you well?
I'm good. I'm a little nervous, but I think it's good to be nervous. The world's a dangerous place sometimes.
It's good to kind of, as I say, look like you're kind of nice and kind of, amiable, but also just have the claws underneath, just ready to kind of reach out, ready to kind of reach out. Well, sometimes, on occasion. The reason I've got you on before is because I was going to say a couple of months ago, but it's certainly a lot longer than that.
I think so.
I was dragged on to the table, not dragged on, I was invited by Oliver and yourself to come and talk about board games and crayons and houses
yes,
and stuff like that. And I completely was cheeky and ruined in your questioning, and I felt guilty about it ever since. And I thought, how can I make this up? And the best and easiest way to make it up is to get you on the show so we could chat a little bit about you instead, because Oliver's been on. He has been on. Mm-hmm. He has been on.
He had a great episode.
He keeps reminding me how much he's been on, and I thought I wanted to get the more professional member of the Tabletop Inquisition podcast
professional
on
member? Oh,
instead. So there we go. No,
I'm definitely not the more professional member, I'll tell you that now. Oliver does everything. I show up and smile politely.
See, you say that, but I know he's got to write everything down. If you take that man's notepad away, he's a jumbled mess of times and he's organised chaos just now. All he needs is just to break that pencil, and he's just ready to, snap.
It's a shame you know his weaknesses.
I've got to know his weaknesses because he's become a little bit of a competition, to be perfectly honest, because I always kind of prided myself on the fact I was just like, I've become known for kind of churning out a lot of content. And then he comes along, and you know what happens. then there's like somebody else that's doing lots of content, and I say I need to know, I need to study this to find out his habits. So there you go. But going back to yourself, I mean, how did you two kind of first kind of start working together? What was the kind of the draw? Was it kind of like a kind of a mutual discussion, or how did you kind of first kind of start chatting?
I think I've always wanted to collaborate with somebody else. I think when people make stuff together, it's always really exciting that you can bring out the best in each other. And I also think that, especially when it comes to board games and you're talking about opinions, you shouldn't just have one person's opinion, because it may not be yours. There's loads of different ways to look at a thing. And so I thought about making a podcast, but I thought that who'd want to just listen to me talk by myself for a long period of time about board games. And I thought it would be cool to collaborate with somebody. And I got to know Oliver, I think, through Twitter mostly, but he started watching my videos and leaving comments and things like that. And then I got to see his content. And I just felt that there was something about the way Oliver did things, and just how nice and friendly he was, that I thought we would make a really great show together. I thought that us being paired together would make something really, really cool. And I got really lucky that when I asked him, like out of the blue one day, would you like to make a podcast with me? He was like, actually, yeah, I would. And he's been a godsend since. Thank goodness. I think Oliver and I work really well together, and I love having someone else to bounce ideas off, or to kind of to prop you up when you're not quite feeling it, and then you can do the same for them. And also I like getting an insight into somebody else's interests other than my own. Oliver plays all sorts of games that I would never play or never have heard about, and I just like that we get to kind of, I don't know, to make something together. And I'm quite proud of what we made, or what we make. I think it's come a long way since we started, but yeah, I'm really chuffed with it, and that's kind of how it all came about. Basically, how it all came about. Simple story: ask somebody to make a podcast with you. It might in fact happen. You never know what secret desires people are harboring.
Well, that's two ways you can answer that question. But on the other side of it as well is he's the epitome of someone who does one of the most important things in any kind of hobby space, which is to promote other people doing the same thing that you're doing.
Yes.
Without fail. And it's, I know I joke and say like, oh, he's my main rival, but he's not, because he's constantly kind of bigging other people up, and there's not like a level of him being a sycophant or anything behind it. There's nothing, he's not doing it to gain anything. He's not doing it to get other people to do the same thing back to him. He just goes ahead and does it, and he's always commenting on other people's stuff. He's always big on other people's stuff. And it's something that there needs to be an awful lot more of it kind of happening as the kind of the hobby kind of grows, you know.
Exactly. We could do with more people like Oliver, or being a little bit more like him, for sure. And I don't know how he has time to kind of listen and read and watch so much content. I'm always amazed by the amount of things he's sharing. I'm like, I can barely keep on top of the people I'm subscribed to, let alone keeping a track of everybody else. He's amazing that he does it and that he promotes it like that. And yeah, it's a really, really good thing.
Yeah. And I kind of want more people to be looking at his stuff, you know, and also obviously looking at anyone's stuff, you know, looking at your stuff as well, because that's how we grow, and that's how ideas change, and that's how we don't end up going into a horrific kind of rut, you know, which you can sometimes see in a certain style of kind of coverage. What with your history with a hobby? I mean, have you always been a kind of an active kind of gamer, as board games kind of being a staple of how you would entertain, you know, yourself and your husband and things like that?
It's actually, I suppose, a relatively recent thing for me, in the sense that I didn't really grow up playing board games at my house or things like that. I was an only child, so I was the kid with the Guess Who set playing by themselves. I know, but I've always had a fondness for games, absolutely, and it wasn't I know it's going to sound really cliched, but I kind of don't care. But it wasn't until I met my husband that he kind of introduced me to another level of geekery I didn't know existed, and the minute, I remember the first time I met him and his friends, and I think they were talking about a role-playing game or something like that, or maybe it was Magic the Gathering or some sort of board game, but it was like they were talking another language. It was literally like code, and all I wanted to do was figure out what this code meant. And within the space of a couple of months, I learned how to play all sorts of games. I played war games, I played card games, I did role-playing games, and of course I played board games too. And I've fond memories of I suppose of those early days of just playing. We Settlers of Catan. We did German version, so can you imagine? It was it was great fun running around and reading that. And Robo Rally was always a firm favorite with the crowd of geeks and things like that. It's only a couple of years ago that we kind of started getting into more modern stuff. But games have always kind of been a part of our lives, but definitely a really, really big thing since I started doing reviews and stuff like that. It's really kind of launched into the stratosphere, to put it very mildly. But games are important.
Does it help with your relationship? Does it encourage you to actually sit down and have kind of conversations? As sometimes it's a catalyst for you to chat about how each other's days are going and, discuss other things as well?
Absolutely not. We're competitive and we're serious and we play to win, and probably the only thing we're talking about is what the next best move is. I know that sounds really funny. I think it's just that we don't play a lot of casual games where there's a lot of time for chit chat. Usually if somebody's not talking, it's because they're thinking about what to do next, and stuff like that. I don't know why it's not free and easy like that. Other people seem to have that kind of board game relationship. Now we're serious, we're playing games, it's time to get down and figure out what you're doing. So I assume that's good for a relationship too, to learn to be competitive and whatnot. I don't know.
As long as it doesn't spill into, as long as it's kind of like you're not kind of standing there kind of doing the dishes and he kind of walks over and says to you, something on your mind, dear. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, you had to play that card to, transfer that energy and thus get yourself 2 victory points. So maybe if that's what you're kind of asking, then maybe there is something on my mind that we need to talk about, kind of thing,
Yeah, no, I'm glad to see. I suppose I have low expectations of how well I'll do at any board game. I'm in the unfortunate position where my husband's super smart, or maybe he is super smart, but I won't say that. But he's good at working stuff out, and I don't normally win when we play games. So I go in knowing that I'm probably not going to win, but I'm going to try and beat my previous score, or I'm going to be the one who builds all the houses, or I'm going to take over Mars. Whatever it might be. And so we don't end up with these kind of arguments. And the nice thing is that he will always help me out. If I'm stuck and I go, I can't, what's the optimal move right now? What should I do? He'll be the first one to lay it out for me and tell me how to beat him.
Really?
We're not competitive in the sense that, he has to win all the time. He plays better than me. And I can learn a lot from that too. I've learned a lot of strategies and things about how to improve my games and whatnot. And he's always giving of that kind of information. And I really wish more alpha gamers could do that. Like you get that a lot with people who take control of games or whatever and work really hard to win, but they won't help somebody who doesn't know what they're doing to do a little bit better. And I like that that's how we play. I always feel that even though I've lost, I've learned something and I'll try something different next time. So it works out.
I want somebody who, it's like in any kind of thing, you want somebody that's going to challenge you. And at the same time you want somebody that's going to maybe support you a little bit. But there is nothing, I think if you are an alpha gamer, you kind of want that. I think automatically, while it's lovely to win, I think it's also nice to kind of get that challenge.
Yes.
And if you're, and I know some people that's, you can give them any game and within like 5 minutes they've kind of worked out the optimum move.
Yes.
And it can take away a little bit of the fun. It can become a little bit of a less a less kind of enjoyable experience. But if you've got somebody who is good at, I guess, explaining how to kind of for you to do the best that you can do, then that means the next time it's no holds barred. I mean, that's the way I would look at it. I'm going to teach you how to become better, so that when we come back for the next game, I can pile drive you into the ground and leave you covered in the dust like you deserve. So that's the kind of the way. Who chooses the games then? I mean, if you are going through a decision, like a buying decision for a game, is there? Do you sit down and decide, okay, based on what's happening, what the next game is you would like for the collection, or do you generally just go out and kind of do your own thing with regards to the collecting side of things?
I'm very much the curator of our collection. In fact, the last couple of games that my other half chose by himself were all terrible failures, and so I'm on a great winning streak right now. And so I've taken away his buying power. I'm just like, you think you know what we want, but you don't really want that. Right. What we really want is this, this, and this. So yeah, I'm the one in charge of it, but also I'm the one who likes collecting the most, I think. I like having kind of a good selection of things to choose from when you're playing. Okay. And so I like to fill out the kind of the gaps in the collection. I don't think he sees it that way. He just sees it as I would like to play maybe this type of game or whatever. But so far I'm winning in this fight of who buys what next. So I'm kind of content with that. But I suppose it can't be helped either. I'm surrounded by so much board game media and by so many people's opinions on things and whatnot that I don't know, I feel like I've got a leg up on him a little bit. So
do you think he's happy that he's just been put on blast in front of, several hundred people about his ability to buy games or not?
I don't think he'll care. He's too cocky for that.
All right, well, that's fine then. Well,
So yeah, I don't think he'll mind. I think as long as we've got good games to play, he'll understand that some of his purchases weren't the wisest. So we'll see how it goes.
When it comes to like special occasions, like say you've got Valentine's Day coming up, or or you've got like Mother's Day, Easter, any excuse at all, Chinese New Year. Yeah. Are you less, if it's special occasions and stuff like that, are you more likely to buy games for like birthdays and anniversaries and stuff like that? Or are you likely to kind of try and get something else completely different? Because I'm guessing you're in media because you've got access to games, because you are getting hold of games. So you actually having kind of the occasional fresh and shiny new game coming in isn't like an unknown occurrence. So do you do like something different? Are you like, I got your massage? It's like, I wanted the side expansion.
Okay, so I would have said like normally, probably up until maybe most of last year, any kind of special occasions really were board games, because we had quite a list of older games we wanted to get through or new things to try out, and pretty much after a year of doing that, I think we've literally hit the end of games we want to try. We just ran out. So this time I don't know what's going to happen for Valentine's Day, because normally it would be board games. It's not looking that way this year because there's nothing in particular in our mind, but normally that's where it goes. The funny thing is though, normally for like birthdays or Christmas, when it comes to me, I normally buy something for the channel. Valentine's Day the previous year, I got a camera so that I could make better recordings. For Christmas, I got a chair, so I had a fancy chair to sit in. So I pretty much, anytime I'm due a gift, I invest it. That's usually what happens. But it's not. Of course, it's nice to have new games. But I don't know. I think maybe you feel it too. That there's been so many new releases and things. It just gets a little bit jaded. I'm quite happy. And like my New Year's resolution was to sit down and play more of the games I owned, and I wasn't joking around about it. I haven't bought any games yet this year, and we've just been playing the things I have, and it feels a little different. It feels a little bit weird not having new things coming in all the time, but it's not necessarily bad. It's just different. It's an adjustment.
I had that resolution, and then I swear within about like 3 days of each other, And I don't know what it is if all of a sudden people are going, I mean, if we give him something or send him something, do you think the emails will stop? And so there's a couple of publishers that have, kind of sent, after me going, I'm quite happy just to do what you're doing and play through what I've got.
Yeah.
I've ended up kind of, a couple of people who I was talking to about Kickstarter, they've appeared, and a couple of other well-known publishers have sent me a few things, and now I'm in the situation where I'm kind of like, damn, I've completely, well, in a good way, I've kind of broken the New Year's resolution, but in fairness, it wasn't exactly my fault. I kind of broke the New Year's resolution. I would just I'd like to point, the only thing is, I'm coming home, I'm coming home with like a big huge box, and I'm kind of getting the kind of, where did that come from? And it's like, and it's not that, it is kind of like, oh well, this is kind of like, I'm getting sent this to review it, and it's like, and it's not like the kind of, it used to be kind of like Kickstarter games, so they used to come in small boxes, have kind of paper instructions, and now the stuff I'm getting is kind of like quite meaty and big, and like today I got the Catacombs 3rd edition big box.
Nice.
And it's huge, but it's got our logo in the front of it.
Aww, fantastic.
So I was like that, yes, that's amazing. So I'm kind of there, but I am with you on the kind of trying to play as many stuff as possible. But I've kind of actually sat back and I've let the newest stuff kind of almost flow past me, like I'm in a zen state of standing in the middle of a river and just letting it flow past me. Because first of all, I don't know about you, is my channel, while it's getting there, isn't big enough to court certain people to get them to send the latest up-to-date stuff. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And secondly, I don't want to really be the person who is trying to push out content as quickly as possible on the shiny, the bright, and the new. Because I think that can give you absolute... Kickstarters are different. I mean, Kickstarter previews, I'm usually just doing it for the sake of it, and because it's fun, and I like doing stuff like that. But the newer stuff that's coming out, I've kind of let it kind of go, and I don't know if you said that you're kind of you're playing what you have instead of what you want. Is that definitely what you're trying to do?
It's what I'm trying to do. See, actually, I didn't count review copies or preview copies as new games. Is it the money? So I have had a number of those show up, which is, see, this is something that people, I don't know, fully appreciate. Like, it sounds really exciting that somebody's sending you a game, but I don't know, every time someone offers to send me a review copy, I feel it in my heart. I know it's going to sound really lame, but I don't care. But someone's trusting me with their game, something they put a lot of effort and love into, and sending it to me to to highlight it and to show it to people. And to me, that's a really special connection. And I know no one else probably sees it that way. They see it as, well, here's a means to get more views on our game or hear more people talking about it. But I take it as a really personal thing and a really special thing, and I'm really grateful for everything I get to look at or get to review or get to talk about. And I forgot where your original question was, because I was so excited to go, yes, when stuff shows up in a box, it's amazing. It's the best feeling in the world. I love Post, absolutely love Post. And like, my postman knows me by name, my DPD delivery guy knows me by name, and we say hello, and we're great friends. I felt like I should have given him a present for Christmas, but I never quite got around to it.
I've got this uneasy kind of relationship with the DPD guy, I think, and he knows who I am, and I know who he is, and I've taken to drawing pictures on the signing box, on and it's become a running joke, because I drew, like, I drew like, here's some apples and stuff like that on it, or, here's a big scary dinosaur. And it's become like, it comes round, it's like, what are you going to draw next? Because it's like, well, it also means that,
feel the pressure.
It's probably, well, it's not that. There's probably a couple of game companies that have like checked to see if I've actually had something delivered, and they've went, what the
You'll be remembered.
I've always tempted to just go, if Stephen Bonacourt ever sends me a copy of Terraforming Mars, just to sign it as going straight in the bin. And
you've got a hard heart.
Can you imagine that?
That would be amazing.
That would be brilliant. Just like him going, let's see if he's got this copy yet. And then I'm going to get like some kind of contract killing out of me
yes,
using
absolutely.
paper cuts and kind of stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. Kickstarter, it's like there's two ways to look at it, because there is that thing, I've got your baby in my hands kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to crush people's dreams, but also at the same time, I had a little bugbear recently with a game that was kind of going about and doing the rounds. And there was a couple of things which should have been addressed, and I noticed that in the other previews that I read, they just weren't brought up. And they were fairly kind of obvious ones, and I went
obvious ones.
So it's not always great, but I know where you're coming from, but I think I've also got a duty to if I can help somebody make a really, really good game, then I've got a right to point out the good stuff as well as the bad stuff.
I think that's something I know I personally struggle with as a reviewer, is that, okay, I've got this game and somebody sent it to me, and I want to be able to say good things about it. I always want to be able to show a game in its best light, but I also don't want to mislead people who are watching this or whatever, to not tell them the whole truth. And I just, I'm a people pleaser by nature, so I find it very hard to be kind of negative about things, but I am a good critical thinker. And no matter how many negative things I can say about a game, I will also say just as many positives, even if they're not necessarily something I understood myself, but I think other people will enjoy. I'm not every gamer, I'm not every person, and there's lots of things I got to review that I'm like, this is actually a really nice game, but it's not for me. And I think it's important to be transparent with people like that, but straddling that divide is, I think, a really difficult thing, because on the one hand you have these connections where somebody sent you their game. If you don't give it a good review, will they send you anything else to review? What does this mean? Do people like you more if you said nice things about their game? And I think it's a weird space to be in, but I've always stayed true to what I believed, which is that I'm a firm believer in critical thinking, and that's the reason I wanted to make reviews the way I do, is that I wanted to be able to go, here's the good things and here's the bad things, go decide for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to buy or what you should like or what you should play, but I'll give you the information and the tools so that you can go and make your own choices. But it's a really weird spot, isn't it? How reviewing works as a whole, where somebody sends you their game and, what happens if it's not what they expected, or if it's not what they wanted to hear, and where does that leave you later?
I think it's Owen Duffy's brought this up a couple of times, and I think even Matt Thrower's brought this up a couple of times about editorial protection, in the fact that sometimes you need somebody. We need Oliver organising stuff, let's face it. We need him reaching out to these people, and then if we kind of go, this is the biggest pile of poo I've ever played in my life, then he needs to answer to the person. But as I think Ben Maddox says that our duty is to the people that are playing the games, but also I think, and the important thing is, if you get a Kickstarter preview through and you don't pick up on the issues that game has, and all you're doing is writing a puff kissy piece about how fantastic it is, if you're not the person turning round and saying, look, your rulebook's just needing a little bit of a spring clean, then it won't be if I'm not saying it, then it'll be the people looking at the campaign and going, I tried to read your rule book and it's an absolute mess, or I don't like the art, or this mechanic doesn't seem to kind of work. And I think sometimes that, because there's an awful lot of kind of like, oh, this is wonderful, or oh, I'm not a big fan of it, but you might, I don't know, I don't mean to, I guess it's because I'm older and cynical and have a cold heart that I'm quite willing to go, this is rubbish, not do that at all. But what made you transition from kind of playing games into actually saying, do you know what, I'm going to go ahead and kind of make something and put kind of stuff out there? Because it's a big jump, and not a lot of people can actually make that jump.
I suppose I'm just been kind of in a unique position where I have time and I suppose a little bit of energy to be able to make reviews, and I suppose they really came out of a kind of a rough time in my life. I was studying a PhD in philosophy. Life was kind of going really well, and I took a real downturn. I went down a spiral I couldn't get out of. I had to drop out of college. I locked myself in my house for a couple of years, and I worked. I got a lot of help, and I worked my best to get things kind of back to some sort of normalcy. But I wasn't really doing anything, and I wasn't able to work or anything like that. And my husband suggested to me that I should try writing board game reviews. I remember actually it was Bunny Kingdom. He'd got a copy of Bunny Kingdoms for Christmas. And he's like, oh, you should write a review of this. It's new. You should do it. And I've done a lot of writing, but as a philosopher, as a critical thinker. And I wondered, would I be able to write something about this board game we'd liked? And I sat down, and it was the first time in a couple of years I was able to write like a couple of pages. It all just came out and it was there. And I was so surprised. And so my husband helped me put together a website, and he was like, you should, here, post your review up there. Yeah. And I remember talking to my doctor about it. He was like, you should try and make videos. He goes, anybody's up on YouTube. Why couldn't you just make a YouTube video? And I don't know why I decided to do it, but I did. And I took it very seriously. I put a lot of thought into what I wanted to do, what I would need to do, and all that kind of stuff. And I set up all my social media accounts kind of at the same time. And I kind of tackle it like I would a job. Because making reviews is my job at this point to me. Doesn't necessarily make money or whatever, but, it's my thing. And it's what, I don't know. I'm not going to be dramatic. It's the thing that's holding me together. Not really. But I love that I've been able to turn something I really enjoyed and something I think I was quite good at, which was kind of thinking critically or being able to tear things apart or make arguments and that kind of stuff, and then somehow be able to combine the two together. I think it's really nice. I like being philosophical about games. I like thinking about what a collection really means. I think that's one of the earliest pieces I ever wrote about, are you a collector or do you collect things, and the difference, what a collection means as opposed to just a pile of stuff. And I try and bring as much philosophy as I can into what I do, and try to be critical about it. So that's kind of where that's pretty much where it all started. I'm still going. I didn't expect to last this long. I thought I would do this maybe for a couple of months, and it just wouldn't pan out. But for whatever reason, I'm still going. I'm still able to do it, and I'll keep doing it until I can't anymore, I guess. But it's been fun. It's been crazy. But like God after Essen, because I went to Essen this year, and I brought my husband. He'd never been before, and it was just such an overwhelmingly amazing experience. I got to meet so many people, and I was buzzing for like 2 weeks afterwards when I got home. Everyone else had concrud, and my brain was firing like crazy. It was just. Board games have brought me an awful lot, and it's been amazing getting to know people in the community and getting to do things I thought I would never do. So I'm so thankful I moved from just playing them casually to playing them every night of the week instead.
Is it anything? I mean, is it anything to do with this is a situation that you're in kind of complete control of, and that for whatever reason, if you wanted to stop, you could stop, and you're not kind of beholden to anyone? Because you saying, oh, it's my kind of a job, and it's like, I know it's a bloody job, because I'm managing 2 diaries, I'm managing like 4 drafts that are currently sitting in my blog. I've got, I've got potentially a new video idea, which I need to kind of try and find time to film. I've got, currently, by this time tomorrow, I'll have, 3 or 4 episodes to edit. So, I mean, there's a lot of work. So anyone like yourself, and I don't want to sound patronising, but anyone who goes ahead and puts together content and is putting it out there on a regular basis, I automatically have respect for, because I know, funnily enough, I know the number of people who kind of don't do it. If it never gets much further than a kind of a quick, I'm kind of annoyed down the pub kind of session, or I want to do this kind of thing. Yeah. So I know the sheer amount of work that kind of goes into it.
Yeah, I know you're completely right. I agree with you. I think anybody who makes videos and writes articles and things like that, because you only see the end product. You don't see everything that had to go in to get to that point. I think that the funny thing for me about doing all of this out of the blue is that I had to learn how to do everything. I didn't know how to edit videos or take photographs or fix things or put stuff together. I've had to do so much Googling to be able to kind of develop a skill set to be able to do this, because creating content is absolutely 100% a skill. It's not just you playing a couple of games and having some thoughts about it. There's so much more. There's so much more to it than that. And I just think people who create content are just so important in general. How would we know about things? How would we have ideas? If I want to look up what a new game is about, I don't go to all the big reviews that I see, on Board Game Geek or things like that. I'll look and see the people who are actually playing it and posting about it on Twitter or on Instagram, and see what real people are saying. I love being able to get access to that kind of information where it's just completely unfettered and unprepared. And this is kind of raw. Oh, I played this tonight. I thought this was great. And I found that's been some of the best ways to find games that I really, really liked, was things like that. But it's such a hard thing to do, I think, to make content, although people seem to think maybe it's relatively easy. I don't know. I think it's a lot of work. But I like it. And I can as you actually asked me, I really love waffling when I'm nervous. Was a kind of a control thing? Is it nice to be able to have control of everything, that I could give it up in a minute? The truth is I couldn't give it up in a minute. I'm so inextricably bound with what I do that there's very little space left for anything else. I keep telling myself I'll take a break for a week or two, and it hasn't happened yet. I have to keep going. It sounds a little demented when I say it like that, but I feel like I've got work to do, and I'd like to get it done, and I'd like to do it the best way I can. Now, I'm fortunate that things look like they might be winding down in a little bit, and I'd like to have a week or two to just think about video ideas and the new way I'd like to put things, but I'm very determined and I'm very devoted to what I do. I would feel weird if I didn't post something on a Wednesday. So maybe that's just me. I don't know if other people feel like that. There's nobody telling me I have to do this, but it's on me to do it. And I guess, I don't know. It's reassuring. This is my cause.
But at the same time, there's people out there that, whether you're getting kind of 10 views, 100 views, 10,000 views, there's somebody that's looking forward, or you're making a slight difference to kind of to their day, which is a really really weird situation, because I never ever thought, I think because you go through the school system and you're told, right, if you work hard and you blah blah blah, and then it's and then you realise very very quickly that you're not really going to make the big difference that you're kind of led to believe at school. You're not going to do that. And the only way that you can kind of have an impact is to have small incremental amounts of positive change. But then it's with the content creation, I like the fact that somebody's going to listen to this and either they're going to find it really interesting, or they're going to have a chuckle at a couple of things when they're listening on the bus, or when they realise there's a new episode popping up, they're going to be, oh, cool, kind of thing. And I kind of think that's a kind of a cool thing about what we kind of do. I'm maybe overplaying our importance, but for some people, they kind of, some people will listen to an episode and they'll discover me through listening to somebody completely, who's doing a Kickstarter, and they go, oh yeah, I've started listening, and I'll go back through the back. I think that was what Oliver did. He says, oh, I just started listening to you recently, and then he says, I'm going to go back to your back catalogue, and I was like, right, okay. But he probably did.
He absolutely did. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because I try and remind myself, especially when making things, you're concerned with how many people see it or how many subscribers you have and all that malarkey. And I try not to think about it too much, because I think if you do kind of, I don't know, you demean kind of what you do if you're only worried about numbers. But I noticed something, that there's like 30 people who regularly watch all of my videos. I don't know who they are, and I thought about it. I'm like, that's a whole room full of people who watch whatever I put up, and there's something really freaky about that. I'm like, what are you people doing? Get yourselves a life. But also something kind of amazing. I was like, there's 30 people who listen to what I say once a week, regardless of anything else that may go up or down. And I find that absolutely astounding. And the other amazing thing, I suppose, about making content is the people you meet. I got to meet a lot of people just who watched my videos, who sent me an email and went, oh, I really liked your video, thanks for making that. I had a lot of women contact me over my Wingspan video who were like, oh, we're looking for more games to play and things like that. We just started. And it's just, there's something so touching and amazing about all of that. Having people out there somewhere you don't know reach out to you and say, hey, thanks, and we're going to go and play games now. So I actually, board gaming has brought me so many really special experiences. That's just some of it, but it's crazy that you don't realize who you're reaching. These people are far more than just numbers. They're actual individuals out kind of thinking about what you said or what you did. It's crazy, isn't it?
I just like that. I just like, that whole kind of, when somebody reaches out to you completely from the blue and just says, oh yeah, it's really, and you're kind of like, did you get the right person? You're not after the
yes.
weird, it's not, oh, okay, you sure? Because I'll just check, just check the Twitter handle that you're sending the message to. But I mean, it's like, and everybody says it, but if you like somebody's content, then go and tell them.
Yes.
Because I don't think there's anything better. Yes. It's like, I can look at, okay, great, I've got 450 downloads for whatever episode, and I'm like, that's really good. Mm-hmm. But if one person who's listened to that episode or watched that video or read that review turns round and goes, oh, I really like that.
Yes.
You're like, that really just, I'm like, buzzing. It's like, I don't know.
It's magic, isn't it?
It's like,
some kind of magic.
I wrote about, was it Mega City Oceania, and Hub Games kind of retweeted the tweet and says,
that.
And I was like, oh.
Isn't that lovely? That's so amazing, isn't it? It's so amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we're not. I mean, if you want to make, us happy, people who are listening, just tell us. We're human beings. We're kind of human beings.
We're frail.
Have you got plans for expanding further? Do you feel, is there an internalized pressure that you give yourself to put out new content, different content? Because I know there's some people that will try, and I'm old and stubborn, so I don't necessarily look at it like a new format on the show, but I know there's some people out there that do kind of look at we've done a change up, we're doing a reformatting, we're adding extra things. Have you thought about kind of doing that at all?
No, I think my content has gone through kind of a number of changes over time, and I've gradually added in bits and taken out bits. Like for a very long time, every time I did a Kickstarter preview, I would make some sort of mini film to go at the start of it. And I hadn't made one of those in ages, and I was like, why don't I put that in when I'm explaining about, in a regular review? Why don't I put in a little kind of video? And so I started making those. I don't think I want to expand much further than I'm doing, but I would really like to perfect it a bit. Like, I never really thought of myself as someone who's very creative, but sometimes I really surprise myself with the stuff I come out with or the stuff I come up with. So I definitely, what I really like is to be able to make something that I am happy with. Every time I make something, I'm like, I needed to fix this, or my lights were weird, or something like that. I always feel like there's something else I have to learn. I'm never quite there. And so I'm working on fixing that. And if I could figure out how thumbnails are supposed to look like at some point in my life, I'd be delighted. But other than that, like, I fix those things every month or two and I'm still like, it just looks weird. But yeah, like, I have some ideas. They're mostly kind of video things, and I think that I just need a little bit of time to sit down with them and work them together, because I do think board games are really, really visual. Like, I normally will watch a video about a game. I find it harder to read it. I think I'm just a visual person. I kind of need to see the thing in front of me when I'm reading and what people thought about it. And so I think that making kind of videos that really highlight what a game looks like or what feels like to play is what I'd really like to get at, because I'm not sure playthroughs really capture that. You can see people moving the pieces, but not what it was like to sit on that side of the table and look across the board and see all the pieces. Like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to make something like that, but that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to be able to convey better the feel of playing the game. I don't know if that's even possible, but that's kind of what I'm working towards.
Yeah, no, I think to me it's the emotional attachment that you feel. I think when you're playing the game, whether you're looking at stuff and feeling confident or daunted by the whole thing as well. And I think it's very, very easy to get, I think it's easier to get that across in a written review.
Yes, absolutely.
And I've always been a big believer in actually kind of writing down how a game makes me kind of feel or not feel, or maybe what I would, what I would like to have seen and stuff like that, and what makes me happy or maybe slightly perturbed by it. And I think that's important, because a playthrough kind of doesn't, you're right, a playthrough never really shows enjoyment.
No.
As in, you kind of, I think one of the big, and I think Holly Nielsen way back was talking about the most important part of kind of documenting kind of board game history is documenting actually how people play the game just in a setting.
Yes.
Without any kind of anybody, without any pretense, without anybody specifically looking on, without having to teach somebody. And they said that one of the best kind of examples of board games were where people have written in the margins, or, certain cards have become worn because it shows they were played with, or, instruction booklets had things underlined and stuff like that to show that the rules were maybe a bit more kind of complicated. And I think that's good. I think I like Twitch. I've watched what was I watching? The Girls' Game Shelf.
Oh yeah.
They've been doing a couple of Twitch kind of episodes. They done one recently on kind of like Kitten and Tinder Blocks from Alley Cat Games, and they were kind of having a general chat, but they were also not doing a playthrough video. They were kind of playing and they were interacting, and it was quite fun to see somebody not get things right in real time. Having to refer to stuff, maybe make mistakes, kind of, you can see them kind of having to make their decisions and stuff like that. Yeah. And I thought that was really kind of, really kind of cool. Yeah. For yourself, what's the kind of the next step? You mentioned obviously, not kind of going completely different format, but what would you, is there other things you would like to do? Would you like to go to kind of like, after your experience with Essen, would you like to go to more cons? Does your health kind of affect you kind of going to conventions a lot, or is there other things that you would like to do, like to achieve kind of with the channel?
That's interesting. my goal with the channel has always been simple, and it's going to sound really lame, but I get 1,000 subscribers. That's all I want. No more, no less. I'm quite happy with that. That's when I feel like I think I've made it. Now, of course, I don't think that represents what I do particularly well, but there you go. It's just, you set yourself those arbitrary goals, and things like that. Like I don't think people are going to listen to anything I've written or anything like that, but it would be nice to go, all right, we've hit that mark. When it comes to, I suppose, doing more things, I suppose the big things for me is conventions, like you said. I do suffer a lot with anxiety, and I panic, I freak out. I also can find people really exhausting. I think other people get this too, though, what I call people hangovers, when you've had to kind of be social for a prolonged period of time and you're no longer in your pajamas, and then it's really tiring. Like I managed Essen last year, and I was really proud of myself for that, because I did not anticipate that I would survive as well as I did, but I had to haul myself up by my bootstraps, and eventually it took a toll. But that doesn't mean that the experience wasn't worth it, or that it wasn't amazing. It just means that it's a little bit more difficult for me than I wish it was. The really exciting news is that I'm going to be at UK Games Expo for one day. I'm going to go on the Friday, and myself and Oliver are going to do a Tabletop Inquisition podcast while we're there. And I am both terrified and really excited at the same time. When Oliver said he'd kind of arranged to do this podcast, he asked, would I come with him? And I don't, what, Oliver's my buddy. I didn't want to leave him on his own. And while it's hard for me to go do these kind of things, we're a team, and I think it would be so much fun to do it together. Yeah. So that's my big, crazy, exciting news. I'm still kind of dealing with this. Like, I've booked my flight, so I can't back out. It's like real money has happened. Now I can't not go or talk myself out of it. Yeah. And the thing is, I know I'll have an amazing time while I'm there. It's just the anticipation of it all gets to me a bit. So that's it. That's exciting. So that's where I think the channel is going to go. Maybe I'll get to more conventions. Maybe some more people will see what I do and buy more games, and have a good time with them. That's really, what I care about at the end of the day. I love when people tell you, oh, I bought that game after I saw your review and we loved it. It was great. Like that's just so, it's worth everything. Yeah. Absolutely everything. So that's what I want. That's what I would like to see happen. More good times.
I'm meeting Oliver, the aircon.
Woo.
We're hanging out.
You're besties now.
We're sharing a hotel room.
That's very intimate, isn't it?
It's fine.
Oh.
It's absolutely fine. It might be very cold in March, that's all I'm saying. But for people who have listened along this evening, in terms of the internet webs, where do you exist on the internet webs?
Okay. Well, I'm on Twitter, which is BG Inquisition, because it wouldn't accept Board Game Inquisition. I'm also on Facebook and YouTube. If you search for Board Game Inquisition, it's an unusual enough title. Most people don't associate it with board games, so I'm kind of fortunate in that sense. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And of course, no one will be expecting me. I was wondering if you get round to it. It's the Inquisition.
I had to do it at the intro, but the intro has to get built up, and then there was part of me that goes to go, I've got one good reason to have this person on. There's no, actually, we've got two good reasons, kind of thing, and build up from there. But now that you've pointed out that obvious flaw in my entire introduction, I'm going to have to go back and completely re-record the whole thing. Yes. So where else can we? Those are the best places to find you?
Absolutely. Find you? Yeah, you can just search my name on Google. All my stuff comes up. It's kind of convenient. Other people have to fight for internet space. Being an inquisitor is kind of unusual. So I'm glad I picked something that was singular.
Do you have a funny hat?
I don't. I wish I had a hat. I'm really jealous of the hat that's in my logo. My best friend made that logo for me, and she put the hat in it. And I never described one to her, but apparently it's like a Final Fantasy Red Mage hat. Did you ever play Final
Yes,
Fantasy?
it is.
Yeah, it is. It's a
Yes.
cross between that and an actual Inquisitor's hat. I think she looked one up historically and she made the hat. And I'm like, you do realise now I need to own one, but finding one's kind of difficult. But yeah, I do love that hat. I wish I had one in real life. I would wear it all of the time. It'd be fabulous. I just go around being an Inquisitor.
I'm pretty sure that you could get somebody to get one made up on Fiverr or something like that, or Etsy. Etsy will probably make something up for you. It'll be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Yes. But we will make sure that we put all these links in the show notes so that
you.
we've got notes to show.
Woohoo.
If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, you can go to the internet webs and you can search for We're Not Wizards and you'll find us in all the various places. We are 4 years old. Can you believe it? I know I sound like a much younger man, but if you want to help us out and help us make our 4th year the best it ever can be, tell somebody else about us. And if you like us even more than that, go to your podcast catcher of choice and give us a rating or review. And if you like us even more than that, go to Apple Podcasts and drop us a rating or a review there. And don't give us 10 stars because makes us big-headed. Don't give us 1 star though, because we're 4. And that would make me sad and annoyed. Give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average, and we're just a little bit average. But the person who's not been average today is the rather wonderful, the rather fantastic Antoinette Mason.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been interesting. You're only slightly more
It's been
intimidating
fun.
than I'd hoped.
Oh, that's. I'm delighted. I think
It's a compliment.
there's only 2 more things to do.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is to remember that we're many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards?
No, we're not wizards. Not
Good.
today.
That sounds good. Not today. I'd pretend I didn't hear that. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Antoinette. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Antoinette.
Goodbye, Antoinette.
Almost. And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s, make something awful, and don't make me ask you 3 times about what you should be watching and listening to. But until the next time, nobody expects us.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.